For the sake of the sect, I confined myself to the Forbidden Land for 500 years. But now that I have returned, everything has changed. The master despises me. The senior sisters are disgusted by me. The new junior brother has taken everything I once had. But through an illusion, I saw what would happen 10,000 years later. From then on, I abandoned the sect contract and left the sect, becoming a rogue cultivator seeking my own path. But just as I was triumphantly fighting my way through the heavens, the former master and senior sisters cried, begging me to return to the sect. To this, my answer was only one sentence. Your beloved junior brother died 500 years ago. You made your choice. At this moment, a scolding voice brought me back to reality. Guzu, it's one thing for you to argue, but you even try to frame others. I looked at the person speaking. There was no sense of injustice in my heart, not even anger at being slandered. I just felt a bit ridiculous. 500 years ago, the Forbidden Land appeared. The sect was on the verge of destruction. Someone needed to represent the sect and enter it, to endure the torment of the Forbidden Land. As the holy son of the sect, I sacrificed myself, entering the Forbidden Land alone. Inside, for the sake of the sect's fortune and destiny, I endured inhuman torture. Now, 500 years have passed. The sect has risen from a third-rate to a first-class holy land. For this, I paid a huge price. 500 years of battles and killing left me with countless wounds. My soul nearly shattered completely, although I barely managed to keep my life. All my cultivation was scattered. My innate talent and bone structure were completely destroyed, but at the time, I thought it was all worth it, because there were people here I cared about. But 500 years passed in the blink of an eye. 500 years brought great changes. Everything changed. When I returned, there were no flowers and applause as I imagined. Only a cold sentence greeted me. Guzu, your Danshin and Chessie are completely broken. Your talent and bone structure are all destroyed. You can no longer cultivate. We have given the position of Holy Son to someone else. He is your junior brother, Zhongzun. He has exceptional potential even beyond the 6 realms. He can lead the Qingshuan Holy Land to greater heights. In the future, just live peacefully in the sect. Don't worry, the sect will take care of you in your old age. The former Holy Son has now become a burden to the sect. This is the full display of human nature. Besides the initial courtesy when I returned, it didn't take long for me to become an ignored and despised idle person. This was already sad enough. But from the future glimpsed in the illusion, I seemed to be even more pitiful. Even in my current state, I ended up sacrificing myself for the sect. The ridiculous thing is that I gave my life for the sect. No one in Xuanzang mourned for me. Instead, they cheered for Zhongzun, the junior brother, for his breakthrough. No one shed even a single tear for me. Until that junior brother turned ruthless. Qingshuan Holy Land was utterly destroyed. And when no one came to their rescue, they finally regretted it. But what use was that? If that illusion was the future, thinking carefully, my life is truly pathetic. At this moment, I shook my head to clear my thoughts. If not for this dream, I might have really followed the illusion's path to death. But now that I have seen the secrets of heaven, I will not repeat the same mistakes. As for this sect, I will no longer stay. But before leaving Qingshuan Holy Land, there are 2 things I must take back, because they are my opportunities. So I ran all the way to my residence. But just as I reached the door, I saw Zhongzun holding the opportunity in his hand. When Zhongzun saw me, his face showed a worried expression. Senior brother, are you okay? I heard you were punished by the master. Junior brother, I came specially to check on you. But before I could respond, a very impolite voice came from the side. Junior brother, why do you care about him? Such a useless person staying in the sect only brings shame. If I were him, I would at least leave the sect to live or die on my own, if not kill myself for the sect. Hearing this, I did not respond to Lu Qingyao, but Zhang Zun spoke up for me. Senior brother Gu may have lost his cultivation, but he is still my senior brother. I ignored the two of them singing in unison, and just looked at the item in Zhang Zun's hand. Junior brother, you took my thing. Zhang Zun was slightly stunned and then smiled. I found this bamboo stick quite unique, so I took it to play with. Have you played with it enough? If so, can you return it to me? Zhang Zun seemed a bit reluctant. I heard that this item was brought back from the Forbidden Land by senior brother, so I boldly wanted to borrow it for a while. I don't know if you can agree, senior brother. I shook my head without hesitation. No, you cannot. I don't like others touching my things. I'm attached to it. Zhang Zun still seemed reluctant, so he looked to Lu Qingyao for help. Seeing this, Lu Qingyao immediately scolded. Isn't it just a broken bamboo stick? It's an honor for the bamboo stick that junior brother values it. Don't be ungrateful. I ignored Lu Qingyao. Instead, I looked deeply at Zhang Zun. Whether it's a broken bamboo stick or a good bamboo stick, it is mine. If I give it to you, you can take it. But if I don't give it, you cannot take it. Then I reached out and snatched the bamboo stick back. Lu Qingyao angrily scolded me. Goose you! What are you doing? How dare you? How dare you snatch something your junior brother likes? I looked at Lu Qingyao without hesitation. This is my thing. Lu Qingyao questioned. Your thing? Do you know? The whole sect is now fully supporting junior brother Zhang with all resources and treasures. He's taking back what should belong to him. Do you want to harm our sect's prodigy? This accusation made me frown. But even so, I still refused to give in. This green bamboo stick, I will not give to anyone, especially not to him. Lu Qingyao said hatefully, aren't you afraid of death? I remained calm and firm. Do you dare to kill me? Seeing the stalemate, Zhang Zun spoke up to mediate. Senior sister, let it go. I was just curious about the bamboo stick. I have no intention of forcing anyone. Since senior brother likes it, I don't want it anymore. Lu Qingyao cursed and said, Goose you! Look at yourself, and then look at Zhang Zun. The difference is clear. Then she said to Zhang Zun, Junior brother, don't worry. I'll go find the master right now, as long as there is a master's decree. At that time, not to mention a broken bamboo stick, even if you want Gushu's entire bamboo forest, he wouldn't dare to stop you. After saying that, Lu Qingyao flew away on a cloud. Zhang Zun didn't dare to delay. He quickly took out a flying sword and said to Gu Zhu, Senior brother, I'm sorry. I'll go persuade senior sister Lu back. Please don't mind. Watching Zhang Zun leave, I couldn't help but click my tongue in amazement. Impressive. This acting is truly remarkable. Seeing the two of them completely gone, I looked back at the green bamboo stick in my hand. This green bamboo stick showed a terrifying ability in the illusion, fishing across the heavens. Then I hurried into the house and found an ancient book. This was the second great opportunity I brought back from the Forbidden Land. Now, with both opportunities in hand, I took up a pen and paper and started writing. It took the time of a cup of tea to finish writing the last word. At the same time, Guan Zulin's cold voice came. Gu Zhu, do you realize your sin? Hearing this, my heart remained calm. I calmly picked up the paper and walked out of the wooden house. Seeing me come out, Guan Zulin angrily scolded. Gu Zhu, as a senior brother, you should support your junior brother. But out of jealousy for Zhang Zun, you deliberately caused this trouble. As your master, I am very disappointed in you. Disappointed? Master said he was very disappointed in me. These words made me unable to resist smiling. Lu Qingyao angrily scolded from the side. Good. Gu Zhu. The master questions your guilt, and you can still laugh. Guan Zulin frowned, but after hesitating for a moment, she still asked, Gu Zhu, why are you laughing? I replied. Disciple thought of something funny. Guan Zulin's face immediately turned cold. At a time like this, you still have the heart to think about irrelevant things. Don't you have any sense of remorse? Hearing this, I asked back, why should I feel remorse? Because I didn't give the broken bamboo stick to my junior brother, or because I am still in the sect, blocking junior brother's future succession as the sect leader? Guan Zulin was taken aback. What did you say? Even Lu Qingyao beside her was shocked and covered her mouth. They didn't expect that I would bring this matter to light. Then I took out a jade token from my bosom. Before entering the Forbidden's land, Master, you promised, if I returned safely, you would pass the position of sect leader to me. At that time, to show your sincerity, you even handed me the sect leader's jade token, Guan Zulin said flatly. At that time, you indeed had the potential to succeed as the sect leader. But now, I smiled and asked, because I am crippled, right? Guan Zulin frowned slightly. Lu Qingyao directly scolded. You are crippled? What face do you have to still hold onto the sect leader's jade token? How are you different from a mangy dog? Guan Zulin immediately scolded Qingyao to stop. But Lu Qingyao got even more angry and continued to scold. Master, even if you scold me this time, I have to say it. Gu Zhu, do you think the current Qingshuan Holy Land is still the same as the Qingshuan sect of the past? Do you think you still have the qualifications to inherit Qingshuan Holy Land? You are just a cripple whose cultivation, talent, and bone structure are all destroyed. Right now, even a low-level rogue cultivator could easily kill you. Guan Zulin finally couldn't bear it and scolded again. I said, stop talking. Then Guan Zulin glanced at me, hesitated for a moment, and said lightly, Gu Zhu, your junior sister's words were indeed harsh. But I smiled and said, Master, I actually find my junior sister's words like a great bell of Huanglu, loud and thought-provoking. Then I looked up again, my gaze sweeping over the three people present. The last trace of attachment in my eyes disappeared completely. At this moment, I said softly, actually, I had always planned that after junior brother Zhang advanced to the golden core stage and qualified to succeed as the sect leader, I would die for the sect and forcibly break the bond of this sect leader's jade token. But now, my thoughts have changed. I value my life. Hearing this, Guan Zulin immediately frowned. Even Zhang Zun showed a moment of resentment and hatred. I ignored their gazes and handed out the piece of paper that I had already written. Guan Zulin frowned. But listen to me say, this is a sect abandonment contract. These words made Guan Zulin's outstretched hand tremble slightly. Then she said in disbelief, you want to abandon the sect? Yes. I nodded. Once this abandonment contract is signed, I will have no more ties with the Holy Land. The bond with the sect leader's jade token will also be severed. The three of them looked incredulous. After the initial shock, Lu Qingyao was the first to show excitement. This eyesore is finally leaving. But Guan Zulin frowned. Is this your way of rebelling? Do you think my punishment is too harsh? Or that the sect has treated you unfairly? I have to say, your retreat to advanced tactic is quite impressive. Gu Zhu was puzzled. Retreat to advance? Isn't it? By taking out this abandonment contract now, aren't you threatening me? What else could it be for? These words made Lu Qingyao look at Gu Zhu with even more disgust. Gu Zhu couldn't help but sigh. Master is truly wise beyond measure. Guan Zulin let out a cold snort. If that's the case, go to the cliff of reflection and stay there for 3 years to reflect on your mistakes today. Seeing that Gu Zhu did not move, Guan Zulin frowned. However, Gu Zhu remained firm. Disciple wishes to leave the Qingshuan Holy Land. Please fulfill my request. Sect Master Guan. Seeing Gu Zhu's persistence, Guan Zulin's terrifying pressure of the Mahayana stage descended. Do you still want to threaten me? Killing intent had already appeared in Guan Zulin's eyes. But in the end, She let out another cold snort. Fine. Very well. You are very good. Then on that spiritual contract of abandoning the sect, Guan Zulin wrote her name. At the final stroke, Guan Zulin glanced at Gu Zhu with a cold expression. Do you really want to abandon the sect? Without any hesitation, Gu Zhu loudly replied again. Please fulfill my request, Sect Master Guan. After a moment of hesitation, Guan Zulin finally made the last stroke. Instantly, a golden light burst forth, and then slowly rose into the sky above the Qingshuan Holy Land. A rule of heaven and earth appeared. Gu Zhu could feel something seemed to be stripped from his body. It was the luck granted by the sect. And as the power of the sect's luck was stripped away, the Sect Master's jade token in Gu Shu's hand also flew out instantly. It flew out instantly, falling into Guan Zulin's hand. Gu Zhu had no regrets at all. Instead, he felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Thank you, Sect Master Guan, for granting my request. Gu Zhu bowed once more immediately. He spoke loudly. After speaking, Gu Zhu turned and left without any hesitation. As Gu Zhu departed, Lu Qingyao was full of excitement. Watching Gu Shu's departing figure with great enthusiasm, Zhang Zun tried to restrain himself, his face full of difficulty. Master, senior brother Gu was just momentarily confused. We should. Guan Zulin waved her hand, her attitude extremely cold and stern. Do not mention this matter again. Pass down the order. From now on, Gu Zhu will have no more ties with Qingshuan Holy Land. All disciples are forbidden to provide any form of aid or shelter to Gu Zhu. I want to see how he will survive without the protection of Qingshuan Holy Land. As Gu Zhu completely left the mountain gate, in the sect's heavenly pavilion, a stunning woman in a dark robe suddenly coughed up blood. Her beautiful eyes were full of shock. What happened? The fortune that has blessed the sect for 500 years. Why did it suddenly dissipate? The sect ... Why did it suddenly dissipate? The sect ... Could it have done something that incurred divine retribution? This person was the head of the Wenshan Pavilion of Qingshuan Holy Land, Gu Shu's senior sister, Nian Chao. She was skilled in divination and fortune-telling, having predicted fortunes for the sect many times. This is impossible. Something must be wrong, Nian Chao murmured to herself. Then she took out an ancient bronze mirror from her bosom. She performed the art of divination. On the bronze mirror, a figure appeared. That person, dressed in white with white hair, stood with their back to the mirror. They exuded a sense of loneliness and transcendence. Suddenly, the person in the mirror seemed to sense something and turned to glance at the mirror. With just one glance, the bronze mirror shattered with a thunderous crash. Nian Chao spat out another mouthful of blood, collapsing to the ground unconscious. It was unknown how much time had passed when an anxious voice called out, Senior sister, how are you? Senior sister, wake up! Nian Chao opened her eyes to see her third junior sister, Su Wanqing, looking at her with deep concern. Seeing her awake, Su Wanqing said worriedly, Senior sister, the art of divination defies the heavens. You forced a divination today. If you hadn't stopped in time, you might have lost your life and soul. What was so important for you to divine? Nian Chao hesitated, but ultimately said nothing. The mere act of divination had almost cost her life. If she revealed the omen, it wouldn't just endanger herself, but also Su Wanqing in front of her. However, thinking about that final glimpse in the divination, Nian Chao suddenly snapped back to reality. She hurriedly got up to leave. Senior sister, you've expended a lot of your lifespan today. You need to rest. There's no time. I need to see him. What do you mean there's no time? Senior sister, who do you need to see? I'll go find him for you. I need to find junior brother. Junior brother has already entered the sword pavilion for training. You won't find him even if you go now. Gu Zhu went to the sword pavilion? Nian Chao frowned. Gu Zhu, he is no longer our junior brother. I was talking about junior brother Zhang Zun. He is now our only junior brother. Not junior brother? What do you mean? Nine Chao was puzzled. So Wanqing explained. Senior sister, you were in seclusion today, so you didn't know. Guzu signed the spiritual contract to leave the sect with the master today. He has left the sect. What did you say? Nine Chao was shocked. At this moment in her mind, she couldn't help but recall the figure she saw in the divination. Then she thought of the sect's fortune dissipating. When did Guzu leave the sect? Around the time of C. The time of C. Nine Chao calculated the time. It was exactly when the sect's fortune left. Her heart became even more certain. Nine Chao was furious. Guzu entered the Forbidden's area for the sect, enduring 500 years of torment. And now you let him leave the sect? Nine Kaoxi's figure flashed as she quickly left Wenshin Pavilion. She had to find Guzu, regardless of why the person in the mirror was Guzu, or why the sect's fortune suddenly abandoned the sect. All of this was clearly related to Guzu. She had to find Guzu and bring him back to the sect. But unfortunately, her journey was destined to be in vain, because after Guzu left Qingshuan Holy Land, he did not go to Qingshuan City as one might expect. Instead, he turned and headed in the opposite direction, towards the perilous Tianqi Mountains where fierce beasts roamed. In the illusion, Zhangzhen always wanted to kill him, fearing his resurgence. Now that he had left the sect, Guzu could not guarantee that he would be spared. So, to be safe, Guzu preferred to go to the seemingly more dangerous Tianqi Mountains. 500 years ago, Guzu had trained in the Tianqi Mountains more than once. He was already very familiar with that mountain range. At this moment, Guzu was in an extremely hidden cave mansion. He lit a campfire and started cooking. This was a hideout cave mansion Guzu had established 500 years ago, because he needed to train there frequently, and sometimes even meditate. The location of the cave mansion was extremely hidden. He had even set up several formations around it. While waiting for the food to cook, Guzu did not remain idle by the firelight. He looked at the two items placed in front of him, a green bamboo rod and an ancient nameless book. In that illusion, Guzu had seen the true appearance of these two treasures. He finally understood that these two items were his great opportunities. First, the green bamboo rod. This item was said to be able to fish the heavens. It could be used once every 10 days. But to use it, a special method was required to activate it. Now that his cultivation was lost, and he had no spiritual power, Guzu temporarily couldn't use it. He set it aside and picked up the ancient nameless book. It was a nameless ancient book. Opening to the first page, he saw it written in harmony with the heavens and the earth. Thus, it can encompass the essence of the Tao of heaven and earth. The spirit wanders and transforms. Therefore, it understands the states of ghosts and gods. The text, Guzu had already memorized by heart over the past 3 years. Previously, he had only a vague understanding with no gain. In that illusion, Zhangzhen also had no gain. Until Guzu was on the brink of death, he suddenly comprehended its meaning and used this nameless ancient book to start his cultivation anew, almost reaching immortality in the end. Guzu glanced at the book, then took out a dagger. After hesitating for a moment, he stabbed towards his own heart. Now immortal. The heart-wrenching pain left Guzu breathless, but Guzu did not dare to stop. He used another finger to dip in his heart's blood, and bit his teeth as he wrote on the blank cover page of the nameless ancient book. Unashamed, as the last stroke fell, Guzu's vitality completely extinguished, his hands falling limp. But at this moment, the characters unashamed written by Guzu on the ancient book suddenly burst into brilliant golden light and seemed to be attracted by something. The nameless ancient book slowly rose, hovering above Guzu's head. Then the book began to break apart from one corner of the first page, the fragments fluttering like countless butterflies. falling all around Guzu. When the last page of the book was completely shattered, those butterfly-like fragments, as if summoned, began to merge into Gushu's body, entering his flesh. Once inside, these book butterflies started to travel along his meridians, slowly flowing. Wherever they passed, it was like withered trees encountering spring. The previously shattered meridians were being rapidly repaired. And not just repaired, but becoming even stronger. His meridians were being widened bit by bit. And along these meridians, complex Tao patterns began to appear. These were innate Tao patterns, a legendary supreme cultivation physique rarely seen through the ages. After his meridians were fully restored, these book butterflies did not stop. Instead, they moved into Gushu's bones. The 500 years of torment in the Forbidden's area had already filled Gushu's battle bones with cracks and scars. At this moment, with the fluttering of the book butterflies, the cracks and scars did not disappear, but instead transformed into marks. As the book butterflies continued to float around, the marks began to form into intricate patterns. If anyone saw this scene, they would be shocked on the spot. This was the supreme Tao bone. If an ordinary person had just one, it would guarantee they would become supreme in this life. Yet Gushu's entire 206 bones had all transformed into supreme Tao bones. Even more terrifying after reconstructing Gushu's entire skeletal and meridian system, the book butterflies still did not stop. Instead, they floated towards Gushu's Danshin and Chessie. Gushu's Danshin and Chessie were the most severely injured areas, already completely destroyed. In the 3 years since returning from the Forbidden's area, Guzu had tried multiple times to repair it, but the damage was too severe to recover. Even Guanzulin, a supreme in the Mahayana stage, had examined him 3 years ago and could only declare it beyond recovery. But now, the book butterflies began to repair the once shattered Danshin and Chessie bit by bit. The awakening Guzu felt a mix of fear and excitement as his Danshin and Chessie expanded without limit. Even when it grew as vast as an ocean, it still did not stop. The larger the Danshin and Chessie, the better for cultivation, for it was the foundation of cultivation. The larger the Chessie, the more abundant the spiritual power, making one more formidable in both consumption and combat. He could crush other cultivators of the same rank. However, the larger the Danshin and Chessie, the more difficult the cultivation would become. Finally, when the Danshin and Chessie expanded to the size of an immense ocean, the book butterflies finally paused, stopping their work on the Danshin and Chessie. They gathered towards the center, slowly, bit by bit, reforming into the shape of the mysterious ancient book. Suspended above the Danshin and Chessie, Guzu was somewhat surprised. According to the scenes he saw in the illusion, this book should have transformed into a profound heavenly level cultivation method. But now, the two characters unashamed were still on the book. Yet upon opening it, all the text had disappeared, replaced by blank sheets of paper. What was going on? The heavenly level cultivation method had vanished. Could he write on these blank pages? Gushu's thoughts stirred, and he immediately began writing in the nameless ancient book. Ancient true man, breathing in yin and yang. All beings look up to his virtue, word by word. Appeared in the nameless ancient book. Gushu's eyes brightened. He could indeed write cultivation methods in this book. Moreover, as soon as he finished the first paragraph, a gentle breeze stirred in the Danshin and Chessie. Guzu felt an enlightened state of mind, his thoughts becoming exceptionally clear. This made Gushu's eyes brighten even more. He began writing again. Ancients wore their hair down without curling it, and ruled the world. Their virtue was to give life without killing. The sages of old looked up to the stars for inspiration, and down to the earth for guidance. This was a cultivation method called the Tongxuan Sutra. It was said to be written by an ancient sage. It could not only be used for cultivation, but also to enlighten and bring wisdom to people. Thus, it was widely circulated. Many people stumbled upon the path of cultivation through this Tongxuan Sutra. Now that Guzu had left the sect, cultivating King Xuan Sect's methods would entangle him in karma and even lead to heavenly retribution. The Tongxuan Sutra, although not as good as King Xuan Sect's methods, could be used temporarily. Later, when he found a better method, he could replace it. Guzu initially thought this way, but now, as each character appeared on the nameless ancient book, a strong sense of enlightenment arose in Gushu's heart. It seemed his previous understanding had always been superficial. With these realizations, Guzu instinctively closed his eyes. The scattered spiritual energy around him began to be drawn to him. Gradually, it was absorbed into his body. When the last character of the Tongxuan Sutra was written, the first wisp of spiritual energy finally circulated through his meridians, completing a full cycle, flowed into the Danshan and Chesi, becoming his own. Guzu opened his eyes with a bit of delight. He could cultivate again. In the 3 years since returning from the Forbidden's area, Guzu had often felt despondent because he couldn't continue cultivating. Now he finally re-entered the path of cultivation. Even though it was just a wisp of spiritual energy, not enough to perform even a simple spell, it was enough to fill Gushu's heart with joy. In his ecstasy, Guzu noticed something peculiar. The pages on which he wrote the Tongxuan Sutra suddenly detached themselves, forming a brand new manual floating beside the blank book. On it were four large characters: Tongxuan Dao Sutra. What was going on? It was clearly the Tongxuan Sutra, so why did it become the Tongxuan Dao Sutra? Guzu opened the book and was stunned. The content had changed somewhat. The Tongxuan Dao Sutra before him was more concise and more straightforward than the Tongxuan Sutra. Guzu began cultivating according to the Tongxuan Dao Sutra. He found that, although his previous cultivation speed was somewhat slow, it had now significantly increased. The Tongxuan Sutra was originally a method without any rank, but now at least it had reached the threshold of a yellow rank method. Could it be that this blank book could automatically enhance the rank of a method? Guzu wondered, his heart full of speculation. He immediately began writing again in the blank book, copying the text from the Tongxuan Sutra. However, this time, as soon as he finished, the writing disappeared, as if it couldn't be written there. Was it because a method that had already been enhanced could not be further improved by the nameless book? Let me try another one, Guzu thought. He then began to transcribe another cultivation method. This was another method similar to the Tongxuan Sutra, called the Chongshu Sutra. Like the Tongxuan Sutra, it had been widely circulated, available to anyone. This time, there was indeed a change. After writing the entire Chongshu Sutra, just like with the Tongxuan Sutra, the pages began to float, transforming into a book titled Chongshu Dao Sutra. Upon reading it, Guzu found it, like the Tongxuan Dao Sutra, more refined and powerful. With the previous experience as a foundation, Guzu quickly understood the entire text. He felt a sudden enlightenment, a complete understanding. And just as Guzu fully grasped the Chongshu Dao Sutra, he saw it slowly float towards the Tongxuan Dao Sutra. The two methods then merged, forming a completely new method, the Zhuangzi Sutra. It can even merge methods? Gushu's eyes widened in shock. If it could merge, does this mean if I merge all the methods together, they will become even more powerful? Guzu speculated. He opened the nameless book again, noticing that the pages, once filled, had automatically replenished themselves, ready for more writing. Guzu no longer worried about running out of pages. He took out another cultivation method called the Huangting Sutra. Like the previous methods, it was also widely known. After Guzu transcribed it, The Huangting Sutra transformed into the Huangting Dao Sutra. However, this time, the two methods did not merge. Guzhu instantly realized it was because he hadn't comprehended both new methods. Thus, they couldn't merge. Next, Guzhu began to study the Huangting Dao Sutra and quickly understood it. A golden light appeared on it. Guzhu then turned to the Zhuangzi Sutra, which was more advanced than the previous three methods, but had a similar core. Within a short time, he fully comprehended it, and a golden light appeared on it as well. At the moment this golden light appeared, the two methods began to merge again. Soon, they transformed into a new method, the Zhuangzi Dao Sutra. Guzhu looked through it, impressed. He couldn't help but widen his eyes. This method was a Zhuan-level method. The Qingshuan Sect's method taught to inner disciples. The Qingshuanju was also only a Zhuan-level method, and now he possessed a method as strong as the Qingshuanju. More importantly, this was just a combination of three widely circulated methods. Guzhu then looked at the green bamboo rod. To use this rod required a special technique, but this special technique required at least the third level of chair refinement to use. His urgent task was to cultivate to the third level of chair refinement, while Guzhu was engrossed in his cultivation. In the main hall of Qingshuan Sect, Sect Master Guan Zuin sat in the main seat, feeling somewhat irritable. Still no news of Guzhu? Report to the Sect Master. No news yet. What about Qingshuan City? Qingshuan City has been thoroughly checked. In the past 5 days, Guzhu did not enter the city. What about the farther cities? Currently, both Qishi City and Dayton City have confirmed no trace of Guzhu. Guan Zulin angrily rebuked. He's a mortal with no cultivation. Where could he go after leaving the sect? This question made the elders and stewards in the hall fall silent. Now it had been 5 days since Guzhu signed the spiritual contract to leave the sect. In the first 2 days, Guan Zulin hadn't paid much attention, but after Guzhu left for 2 days, Nian Chao suddenly encountered a life-threatening incident. Upon inquiry, it was found that the eldest disciple, Nian Chao, had been seeking Guzhu, exploring the secrets of heaven excessively, which eventually led to divine retribution. If it weren't for the timely medical treatment from the third disciple, Su Wanqing, she might have already perished. Guzhu in the Danfeng of Qingshuan Sect. With a loud gasp, Nian Chao, who had been unconscious for days, sat up in bed, covered in cold sweat. Senior sister, you finally woke up. Third sister Su Wanqing hurried over, immediately grasping Nian Caoxi's wrist to check her pulse. After a moment, her frown eased a bit. Thank goodness. Although still very weak, the injury has healed, and there are no lasting ailments. Eldest sister, you need to rest well for the next few days, and refrain from any more divination. Nian Chao ignored her advice and asked, where is Guzhu? Has he returned? Su Wanqing smiled wryly. Senior sister, why are you still thinking about Guzhu? He left the sect half a month ago. Sect master has already ordered to stop searching for him. Why are you still concerned about him? How long was I unconscious? Nian Chao asked, shocked. 13 days, Su Wanqing replied. That long? Nian Chao was startled. Then her face turned cold. Why did they stop looking for Guzhu? Didn't I say he must be found and brought back to the sect? Never mind. Su Wanqing sighed. I'll go see master. Seeing Su Wanqing hesitate, Nian Chao quickly got up and hurried away, heading towards the main peak. Today, Guan Zulin was handling sect affairs. Seeing her eldest disciple awake, she immediately smiled warmly. Chao, you're awake. How are you feeling now? Thank you for your concern, master. I'm fine now, Nian Chao replied. Then impatiently asked, Master, I want to know, why has the sect stopped searching for Guzhu? Hearing Guzhu's name, Guan Zulin frowned slightly. When the time comes and he's suffered enough, he will come back on his own. What's the point of searching? But what if he doesn't come back? Nine Chao asked. Guan Zulin responded coldly. If he doesn't return, wouldn't that be better? After all, in the sect, he only burdens the sect, wasting resources for no reason. This indifferent response left Nine Chao stunned, looking at her master in disbelief. Master, he is Guziu. Nine Chao couldn't help but say. 500 years ago, we ... But before she could finish, Guan Zulin coldly interrupted. Do not speak of the past. The path of cultivation is about the present and the future. Dwelling on the past will only entangle you in a cocoon of your own making, hindering your cultivation. Nine Chao felt as if struck by lightning, looking at her master, who had not changed much in 500 years. Feeling a moment of disorientation, hindering your cultivation, her master had said. A fine hindering your cultivation. Nine Chao, now angry, mustered the courage to question. He is a disciple of our sect, your personal disciple, master. He entered the forbidden area for the sect's fortune, all for the sake of the sect. Qingchuan sect, such a large sect, can't spare a little bit of resources for someone who nearly lost their life for the sect. Doesn't this chill the hearts of the sect's disciples? A little bit of resources? Guan Zulin was displeased. Do you know how much Gushu's monthly stipend is? Elder Chen. Tell her. Guan Zulin said coldly, looking at the stirred elder. Elder Chen hesitated. Sect master, this matter. Tell the truth. Guan Zulin urged coldly. This ... Elder Chen looked at the sect master, then at Nine Chao, hesitated but finally lowered his head. Uncle Master Gu's monthly stipend is 10 low-grade spirit stones. Did you hear that? Guzu costs the sect 10 ... double quotes Guan Zulin was saying, when she suddenly froze and looked at Elder Chen. You said his monthly stipend is how much? 10 low-grade spirit stones. Elder Chen shrank his neck, and sometimes even less. At the least, Uncle Master Gu only received 3 low-grade spirit stones. Upon hearing this, Guan Zulin stood there stunned, while Nine Chao gasped. Even the lowest-ranked inner disciples received 200 spirit stones monthly. Ordinary steward elders received thousands, and personal disciples received at least tens of thousands of spirit stones monthly.